I came here in search of answers. As part of my education to become a specialist nurse, I decided to take the road less traveled. Instead of staying in Sweden to complete my thesis, I decided to travel to Indonesia to seek out the answers to my questions. Leaving everything familiar behind me, I set out on a journey that would not only change the way I understood medical practice, but it would alter the lens through which I view the world. The central question in my mind as we touched down in Indonesia was quite simple, but I had no idea what kind of answers were waiting for me. Indonesia itself is a country of extremes. It is a land of staggering beauty, contrasted against a land of equally staggering poverty. Its 225 million inhabitants are spread over an unthinkable 16,000 islands, making up the most expansive archipelago in the world. Despite the huge amount of disadvantaged Indonesians, the country is rich in many other ways. There is an abundance of natural wonders, tourist destinations, and cultural attractions that make Indonesia one of the most exotic landscapes to explore. This is why I chose Indonesia for my study, to experience something new, something brave, and something unexpected. I wanted to find out what the concept of hope means to the people of Indonesia. More specifically, I wanted to understand how the nurses working in the intensive care unit promote hope in their patients at Sarjito Hospital in Yogyakarta. I was fortunate enough to get in touch with 5 senior nurses who agreed to participate in my study. Sudiman, Kus, Anjit, Wahyu, and Suko would prove to be my greatest source of information on this journey, allowing me to peek inside their profession and their lives. Over the next few minutes, I would like to share some of my experiences with you. In order to understand how they transmit hope to their patients, it was important to first ask them to describe their personal definition of hope. First, I met Sudiman. He is a cheerful, kind-hearted father of 2 whose wife is also a nurse. He has worked in the ICU for 13 years.
Harapan adalah sebuah keinginan dari seseorang ya. Saya sebagai seorang perawat berarti saya punya harapan apa yang saya lakukan itu sesuai dengan apa yang seharusnya.
Next, we met Wahyu, a senior nurse with 29 years of experience in the intensive care unit.
Harapan adalah sesuatu yang ingin dicapai, baik itu oleh orang yang sakit maupun orang yang sehat, karena selama ini saya terkait dengan perawatan.
Anjit is a mild-mannered nurse who was a woman of few words but with an enormous presence.
Harapan itu menurut saya sesuatu keinginan atau cita-cita yang ingin dicapai.
When planning the study, my advisor in Indonesia suggested to include nurses from the intensive cardiac care unit. As a lot of patients in the ICU are unconscious, perhaps there are more obvious opportunities to promote hope in the ICCU, as most of their patients are conscious and able to participate in interventions. Kus is a senior nurse working with patients who are critically ill, all with severe cardiac conditions.
Menurut saya harapan itu sesuatu yang diinginkan dari pasien. Otomatis kalau pasien berobat inginnya cepat sembuh dan cepat pulang ke rumah bertemu dengan keluarga tanpa ada rintangan.
And finally we met Suko, one of the few male nurses working at Sarjito, and he shared his perspective on what hope means to the patient.
Dengan adanya suatu sakit, itu akan membuat sesuatu, orang akan melihat ke depannya itu seolah-olah terputus. Nah, dia tetap survive atau tetap bersemangat dalam kehidupannya, itulah harapan hidup.
After 6 hours of interviews, I was able to gather enough data to make some conclusions about these extraordinary nurses and their efforts to inspire hope. All of the nurses stated that communication was one of the most effective ways of promoting hope in their patients. Communication takes on many forms, such as verbal communication, physical contact, and giving information about the patient's condition.
Otomatis pasien-pasien yang dalam keadaan kritis putus asa, dia akan tergantung sepenuhnya kepada perawat, ya, tergantung sepenuhnya kepada perawat dan memperlakukan meskipun pasien putus asa dan tidak sadar, tetap kami perlakukan sebagaimana pasien ya sadar, jadi tetap diajak komunikasi, dirawat sebagai manusia.
But even more important than communication seemed to be something more central to the patient's very existence: the family.
Keluarga, dukungan keluarga sangat penting, karena menurut saya tanpa dukungan keluarga, perawat sebenarnya hanya sebagai motivator tambahan, karena yang terpenting adalah keluarga.
Because Indonesia is the largest Muslim nation in the world, it's not surprising that much of the patient's hope is rooted in religion. Every Indonesian has attached themselves to one of the many religions being practiced, but roughly 90% are Muslim. It is therefore considered natural to incorporate a patient's faith into their treatment plan to inspire hope.
Kalau dia Muslim itu ya sebuah rezeki juga yang diberikannya kepada dirinya. Sebuah penyakit, maka ya kita sampaikan itu jelas ada obatnya, yang penting adalah usaha.
Kalau secara religius itu, kalau misalnya yang saya tahu ya, kalau beda agama kita bilang Bapak berdoa menurut sesuai, Ibu berdoa menurut keyakinan Bapak Ibu seperti apa. Kalau yang Muslim, sama-sama Muslim, kita mengingatkan berdoa yang mudah-mudah, atau kalau dia kira-kira fisiknya kuat, dia mengingatkan buat sholat atau apa.
This is just a short summary of the many impressions and huge amount of information I discovered while in Indonesia. The simple fact that these nurses have a medical diagnosis for hopelessness is truly remarkable and worth reflecting on. And the interventions discussed by the interview subjects could prove to be a good example for Swedish nursing practice. If I were to conclude this journey with some words of wisdom collected during this time abroad, I would quote Suko and something he said during his interview.
Dari data yang tadi waktu pengajian, kalau sudah kita dapatkan, baru kita sesuaikan intervensi apa yang sesuai dengan, karena saya berprinsip bahwa manusia itu sangat unik, sehingga setiap pasien tidak selalu sama penyelesaiannya. Kadang kita harus mereka itu punya seni gitu.